ancient scientific literature relevance to modern times. Only two things existed at the beginning of civilization. That is human power and nature. Nature is the motivator, and understanding the principle of nature was education at that time. Each step of nature's revelation is the science. Stone Age man's to today's man is trying to understand nature and adopting modes of living to suit the environment and the society available to him at their respective periods. I just want to recite one poem which I have written about the ancient man. రాయుంగలిసి రాపిడి చేయుచు నిపుజేసే రాయుంగలిసి రాపిడి చేయుచు నిపుజేసే ఆ రాయికి కొట్టి జంతువుల రాగముతో తన పొట్ట నింపే ఆ రాయికి కొట్టి జంతువుల రాగముతో తన పొట్ట నింపే ఆ రాయియే మానవాళికి రక్షగా ఇంటిని గూర్చే రాయితో నేయము చేసి జీవనము నేర్చే నరుండదే నాగరికుడై. So the civilization started with the stones. For his development, for his livelihood, he used the stones and as tools. So these tools of the first human being is the stone. Then from the tools he has to communicate. So this communication, how he has done? Form of signs and thoughts through verbal sounds. Thus started as communication between people, and intelligent people gave a form to these modes of communication. And that became a language of that group. A common form used by large number of people of a group, sustained with the time and established itself as a language. So the form of a language has come from the signs of the and thoughts through verbal sounds. So in ancient India, civilization started at the banks of rivers Ganga and Sindhu more than 5,000 years ago. With the passage of time, they adopted a language named as Sanskrit in the plains of Ganga and Sindhu. Tamil, a Dravidian language, flourished on the banks of Kaveri, south of Vindhya mountains in the country. The languages in India considered memorization as the best mode of communication. And verse form was taken as it is easy to memorize and become the standard method of knowledge communication of that language. This development in the East was far developed much before the West's civilization. Different meters adopted to accommodate different situations and subjects. Yesterday in Venkat's lecture, he has mentioned very clearly, up to 17th century, India's wealth was 30% GDP of the whole world. 20% was only China, and rest of the whole world is below. So India had a civilization which was far superior than any other country, any other part of the world. Veda Samhitas, Brahmanas, Aranyakas, they were all memorized. And discussion between teacher and the thought, questioning teacher about the subject, was given an important place in the discussions. This is reflected in Upanishads. All Upanishads are discussion of the teacher and the taught. Knowledge is passed on from generations to generations through memorization. So later human beings started writing on stones as pictures. With passage of time, leaves were used for writing, and a special class of people known as lekaks or writers came into existence. The great saints or knowledgeable persons used to recite, and the writers used to write on leaves of bhurjara. These writers had good grasping power and writing skills. They used to treat the leaves and make the leaves fit for writing. They wrote with ghantam, the stylus, or a metal pen with a sharp edge. The scholars of the language standardized it. They standardized the language. So, and it was known as Sanskrit, means a Samskrita Bhasha. Samskrita Bhasha means Samskarimpa Bhadina Bhasha. That means a language which was standardized in the whole system. So, thus the first epic Ramayana has come in the literary history. This was enunciated by Maharshi Valmiki. Later, Maharshi Vyasa classified Vedic knowledge and narrated Mahabharata and 18 Puranas. Subsequently, great poets like Kalidas, Avabhuti, Aravi, Dandi, Magha, Bhartruhari, etc. produced great kavyas, dramas, and other literary works. Prakrit languages like Pali, etc., and regional languages developed to suit the local necessities. Bhartruhari produced an excellent work on human life in 300 slokas, that is stanzas known as Bhartruhar Trishati. It consists of 3 parts. One is Niti Sataka, Sringara Sataka, and Vairagya Sataka. He described in these 3 parts how one has to build up his career and how he has to deal with the people in the society, how to lead a perfect life, etc. He mentions that Prarabhyatena khalu vignabhayena nichai Prarabhya vigranihata viramanti madhya Vignair muhurmuhurapi pratihanyamanya Prarabdham uttamaguna na parichajanti. That means he divides the people into 3 categories. One is the lower people, those who do not take up any work, thinking that a lot of obstructions will come during their work. Middle class people or medium people who start the work but stop in between when obstructions come. But brave and confident people not only start the work, they try to complete till the end, even if obstructions come. So, one has to be brave and develop confidence in himself. That is, develop Atmanirbharata in himself and devote for the completion or to see the successor leading of a fruitful life. And India has been consistently a scientific country right from Vedic to modern times. For them, science is to understand nature and use their intelligence for the benefit of society, logically taking the conclusions. Many ancient rishis, the scientists of those days, they lived a life as ascetics, concentrating on the subject to put it in the verse forms to transmit the knowledge for future generations. Those saints or rishis pursued Khagola Shastra, Ganita Shastra, Bhugola Shastra, Bhushastra, Shilpa Shastra, Bhautika Shastra, Loha Dhatu Shastra, Vriksha Shastra, Ayurveda, the Vaidya Shastra, adopting Tarka Shastra. Tarka Shastra is the logic. So nowadays we call them as, in English, as astronomy, mathematics, geography, geology, engineering, physics, metallurgy, plant science, and medicine with logical discussions. So industrial revolution in West laid the foundation for present scientific advancements. So the present what we call as scientific advancements are hardly maximum 400 years old. So achievements in the field of engineering began in prehistoric times. From 3rd millennium BC, that is during Harappa period. Construction of cities and towns called Janapadas developed before 7th century BC. Religious relics like stupas, chaitya-gruhas, viharas started by Buddhist skilled engineers in the period AD 300 to 600 showed the systematic construction of engineering principles of temple architecture. Three texts on Shilpa Shastra were produced in Sanskrit language. Shilpa Shastra, what we call as engineering science. Narada Shilpa Shastra, Kashyapa Samhita, and Maya Shilpa Shastra. These are the three Sanskrit works on engineering, especially civil engineering. The Sanskrit text on architectural civil engineering, it was Narada Shilpa Shastra. It was published by Dr. R.N. Iyengar, former director of Central Building Research Institute, Roorkee, along with Professor K.S. Kannan and Professor S.Y. Vakankar. This Narada Shilpa Shastra discusses at length how a city has to be built up, how the buildings has to come up, and how the ponds has to be made, and how the water supply has to be made. All those things were discussed in this Narada Shilpa Shastra. And it was excellently written by Dr. Iyengar in English. Professor Phanindranath Bose of Vishwabharati University, he published Maya Shilpa Shastra with English commentary. So in addition to these books, Varahamihira's Bruhat Samhita, Manasara, Shilparatna, Sesha Samuchaya, Samarangana Sutradhara, and Adbhuta Sagara, Vallala Sena's Adbhuta Sagara. These are the books which give lot of information on engineering science. Many ancient rishis became inquisitive. See, about the solar system. Okay. Sun, moon, stars, day and night, etc. And the earth to know the lands and for trade. Pursued Khagola Shastra, that is astronomy, and Bhaugolika Shastra, geography vigorously. Navigation and construction of ships to travel by sea. But some adventurers for finding new places. Merchants for business of the products produced. Fishermen for fishing. And kings built up the naval armies to occupy new areas. This has become oceanography in modern times. For safety of these ship travel, they depended upon Khagola Shastra. And mathematics is the backbone of astronomy and geography. And it is also important in the construction of Yajna Vedikas and daily chorus. So it was mentioned that Yatha Sikha Mayuranam Naganam Manayo Yatha Tadvad Vedanga Shastranam Ganitam Murdhanisthitam. That is, like crest of the peacock or gems of snakes, mathematics is the head of all sciences. The concept of numbers and zero was given by Indian mathematicians. Their contributions in arithmetic, algebra, geometry, trigonometry, and calculus are very significant. Mathematical and astronomical treatises like Siddhantikas, Lagadas, Ajustya Jyotisha, Varahamihira's Panchasiddhantika, Bruhat Samhita, Vasishta's Vasishta Siddhanta, Aryabhata's Aryabhatiya, Varahamihira's Suri Siddhanta, Brahmagupta's Brahmasputa Siddhanta, Bodhayana Sutras, Shulba Sutras, Bhaskara's Leelavati, Jaina priests like Mahavira and Sripati's works of Ganitasara Sangraham and Ganitalitika, they are well-known books on mathematics. The discovery of decimal system wherein place value was play an important role, gave ancient Indians excellence. Hindus, Jains, and Buddhists gave long lists of names for these places. The Vajrasaneya, Taittiriya, Maitrayani, and Kathaka Samhitas gave denominators up to 30 places. Buddhist literature went up to 54th place and named as Talakshana. Jains called the decimal places Ghananasthana and extended the Brahmanic notation to up to 29 places. Aryabhata to onwards, the expression Sthana Sthanam Dasagunam Sthat Dasagunottaraha Sanyaha, they became valid. That means after one place to the other, it is 10 times.
1 minute, Surnaran Garu. Kamal,
Just one.
Kamal, can you please mute your mic, please? Kamal.
That is giving disturbance.
Yeah.
It's okay?
Kamal, mic mute cheyali. Yeah, right. Please go ahead.
Okay, na?
Okay, na sir?
Oh, okay. I think if this is there in that corner, it is giving problem. I think. Okay. ఏమవుతుంది? No.
You can continue, sir.
Use in that for the numbers. The ancient people, they used the words. Suppose for one, they put it as Sasi. For two, Chakshu. For three, Pavaka. For four, Sagara. 5, Indriya. 6, Rutu. 7, Muni. 8, Diggaja. Now, 9, Padartha. 0, Akasa. Like that, for position also, Eka, Dasa, Sata, Sahasra, Dasasahasra, Laksha, Dasalaksha, Koti, Dasakoti, Satakoti, Arbudam, Nyarbudam, Karvam, Mahakarvam, Padmam, Mahapadmam, Kshoni, Mahakshoni, Sankham, Mahasankham, Chityam, Chityam, Mahachityam, Kshopam, Mahakshopam, Nidhi, Mahanidhi. Nidhi is 10 to the power 25 times. Then Mahanidhi is 10 to the power 26. Paratam, Anantam is 10 to the power 28. Bhuri is 29. Mahabhuri, 10 to the power 30. Meru is 10 to the power 31. Mahameru is 10 to the power 32. Bahusam, 33. Then Bahusam, that is 34. Samudram is 35. Sagaram is 36. Tallakshana is 53. Like that, they have given the entire decimal system was described. I can tell you one poem in Paulur Ganitam about pi. It is 3.414 like that. He discussed in a small Tetagiti poem the entire 23 digits with 3 as the Purnakam. That is first part. And decimals are 23 poems. The 23 decimals he discussed he described in one single poem. I can tell you after that, whatever that poem also. Now, the basic principles of chemistry or Rasayana Shastra emanated or revealed through the great works of our ancient rishis can be attributed to 3 major areas. That is, intellectual thinking about the nature, development of professional skills for livelihood, welfare measures like health care of the society. So, for intellectual thinking about nature, Vaiseshika Darshana of Kanada is the best scripture, which had number of commentaries and widely discussed by philosophers. This is one of the 6 Darshanas of Indian philosophy. He propounded the concept of atom and its indivisibility and the law of cause and effect. He says that there is no difference between a mustard seed and a mountain basically. It is the arrangement of atoms that makes the difference shown. He also further states that anukas combine to form chanukas and they further combine to give matter. He says that earth, water, fire, air, sky, they are the 5 primary elements, and time, direction, atma, along with the mind, are to be considered as materials. पृथिव्यापस्तेजो वायुराकाशम कालो दिगात्मा मनः इति द्रव्याणि. What he says is पृथिवी, आपस, तेजः, आयुः, वायुः, आकाशम, कालः, दिक्, atma, manah. Kala, that is time, also is a matter. Dik, that is direction, is also a matter. And then Atma, spirit is also matter, and Manaha, mind is also matter. Because for all the actions, mind is the important factor. Similarly, for the life, Atma, spirit is the most important one. So these two are also considered as the part of the matter. And that's why what I made into Telugu is Dravyamulenna Tommidavi. ధారుని నిప్పును నీరు గాలియున్ అవ్యయమైన ఆకాశము ఆత్మయు కాలము దిక్కులన్నీయున్ భవ్యమనంబు కూడుచును భాసులుచుండు నటంచు తెలిపే ఆ దివ్య మహర్షి కాణదుడు దీక్ష విశేషపు దర్శనంబునన్. So he discussed all the 9, the entire materials of the whole world, as he classified them into 9. And he further states that the form, taste, smell, touch, number, combination, division, buddhi, happiness, unhappiness, desire, anger or hatred, working are all qualities. Rupa, rasa, gandha, sparsha, sankhya, parimanani, pruthaktam, samyoga, vibhagaihi, paratva, aparatvaihi, buddhayaha, sukha dukkhe, ichha dveshe, prayatnascha guna. These are all the qualities of matter. Similarly, throwing, falling, contraction, spreading, and motion, they are the actions. That is material, then their qualities, their actions. So actions are Putshepanam, Avikshepanam, Akunchanam, Prasaranam, Damanamiti karmani. They are the actions, karmani. And he also says that the substances like ghee, lac, and beeswax will become liquids with the addition of heat. Sarpir jatu madhuchishtanam agni samyoga dravatvamadhisamanyam. Trapu, Sarpi, Jatu, Madhuchista. That is, Sarpi means ghee, Jatu is lakka, lac, and beeswax is Madhuchistam. They will become liquids with the addition of heat. Not only these materials, but heavy materials like gold, silver, copper, tin, and lead also gets converted to liquids when they are subjected to heat. And it is very common. Trapusi aloha rajata suvarnanam agni samyoga dravatvamadhi samanyam. So, and not only that, these two sutras differentiate the high and low melting materials and mentions the phase changes and the differentiation of materials by their nature. The phase changes indicates the laws of thermodynamics. In modern physical chemistry books, what we find, Au plus solid plus delta H is equal to Au liquid is clearly stated in Sanskrit. Next, development of professional skills for livelihood. Weapons, tools, and implements made up of stone were coarser and heavy. So, metal replaced the stone and the paved the metals ages, that is, Bronze Age and Iron Age. Metals played an important role in making tools in four major areas. That is one, agriculture, second is housing, third is clothing, four artisans. Agricultural implements took primary importance to improve the professional capabilities in agriculture, as it was an agricultural society. So studies on metals became a favorite topic, and the fruits of metallurgy brought fame in the whole world. Housing is a necessity after the caveman learned to live in huts made up of leaves and branches of trees. Civilization paved for construction of houses to live, so building materials got importance and metals took part along with the timber. After food and shelter, clothing became important for humanity. So they started growing yarn producing plants and dye producing plants. They started weaving and dyeing using small wooden implements, and later for larger production, metal implements. Metals played a very important role for different ornaments and enriched the cultural life, giving livelihood to artisans. Shukla Yajurveda and Vedic texts clearly states that gold, silver, lead, copper, tin, iron were known to the Vedic people. These materials were used in society as jewelry, agricultural implements, utensils, and in tools. Chandogya Upanishad mentions that all metals have their special characteristics. It also mentions that gold by salt, silver by gold, tin by silver, lead by tin, lead by metal, metal by wood, and wood by skin can be joined. In Mahabharata, Sabhaparva mentions the Pipilika gold, similar to modern nano gold. This is obtained as fine powders in the ant hills by tribals of the forests of Meru and Mandara hills. It was also mentioned that it has superior qualities. Indian contribution in metallurgy of the early times, especially in copper, gold, iron, zinc, and alloys like brass, bronze, and panchaloha, are very well known. Archaeological excavations at different places are the evidences for the technologies of those times. Many experts in metalworks existed at different parts of the country. Kautilya's Arthashastra is a treasure of the knowledge, discussing about the mines, the mining of ores, extraction of metals, and purification of metals. Precious articles like gems, rubies, pearls, etc. The head of the mines is known as Akarajyaksha, and he is an expert on metallurgy. They used to characterize the ore as well as metal based on the color as well as heaviness to which metal it belongs. For example, the ore from rocks or a region of the earth which is heavy, unctuous, and soft, tanny, greenish, reddish ore, or red is copper ore. Crow black or of the color of the dough or yellow pigment studded with white lines, smelling like a raw flesh is lead ore. Grey like saline earth or of a baked lump of the earth is iron ore. And then Silajit. The quality of gold and silver are estimated by the yellow color of lotus filaments and the whiteness. Slight variation in the color to red or other colors indicate contamination of the other metals. Making of silver and copper coins is also discussed in detail with composition. I would like to mention here the gold, the purity of gold is estimated with the comparison of the yellow filament of the Padma, the lotus. The lotus kesaras, they are all yellow. That yellow color is the actual pure color of the gold. Even if there is a light tinge of red, that means it is combined with the copper. The same thing which we are using at present for gold estimation is the 360 line of in atomic absorption spectroscopy. So the knowledge, the thinking is the same. Only thing is we have the best machines to compare, machines to identify, or machines to actually analyze. Making of silver and copper coins also is discussed in detail with composition. Here again, I can tell you that in Kautilya Arthashastra, what he mentions is, if the silver coin has to be made, if it is of 16 parts, out of that, 11 parts should be silver, and 4 parts should be copper, and 1 part should be either iron or any other metal. It gives the strength to the coin. Similarly, if they have to make copper coins, they have to use 11 parts of copper, 4 parts of silver, and then 1 part of iron. So that is how the quality of the coins or the metal is tested in those days using different methodologies. Similarly, the greatness of Indian iron technology is the production of non-corrosive iron pillars, which are present even now at Delhi and other places. Udayagiri near Sanchi, Dhar in Madhya Pradesh, Kodachadri hills in Karnataka, and the same technology was used for the manufacture of huge beams in temples of Odisha, such as Jagannath Puri. Professor Balasubramanian, late Professor Balasubramanian of IIT Kanpur, he worked in detail the composition of those iron pillars and found that it is the purest iron form with very, very less phosphorus in that. So they had the technology to make the purest iron in those days. Similarly, wood steel, a highly exported material produced in South India, especially in Deccan, it was exported to Syria to shape into Damascus swords. That is famous for their sharpness and their toughness. The Damascus name came not from the name of the Syria capital city, but from the Damask or the wave pattern characteristic of the surface of these swords. So this wood steel is primarily iron containing high proportion of carbon, and it is a high carbon alloy produced by crucible process. And now even it is proved that the carbon which is actually on the surface of the iron is nothing but nano tubes, carbon nanotubes embodied on the iron swords. So this technology was much superior which was produced in South India, especially in Deccan. See, what I hear, why I want to put in all these things is the artisans of those periods were specialized in that particular art. So, see, it may not have gone into the books, but some have already actually entered into the books also. Yeah, especially this iron technology. It was written in Kadana Kutuvalam. That's a book on that. So in that it was written actually how they have done that procedure also. Similarly, the evidence for the earliest production of metallic zinc is from India only. See, the zinc was produced in no other country. They were able to actually produce it because the boiling point of the melting point of the ore and the boiling point of the zinc, they are exactly very near to that. that is about 1000 degrees centigrade. So what happened? This zinc volatilizes or zinc becomes vapor at the same time as the bore's melting point. Therefore, the Indians, they adopted a different type of arrangement. They used a downward distillation technology that is called Adapatana Yantra. You see, in our Indian system, we had about 30 to 40 yantras. They had different distillation systems, different musas, and then for doing potash, they had different types of yantras. So all those things, if we have to work out one by one, and this downward distillation technology, it was used for zinc distillation, and then this has been spread up in the whole world, and it was sent to different places. That's why in Sanskrit, zinc is known as Yashadaha. Yashadaha means the one which gave famous, which became famous. And India got famous because of the zinc. This metal has become very famous. So it is called in South India, Totam, Tuttunagam or Tutanag. See, all this was discussed in Rasopanishad, 11th or 13th century book.
Thank you everyone. The Knowledge Edge has no limits in the same way this session is. Will be brought to you in form of episodes. Episode 2 will be uploaded soon.